The story continued as, after providing the information about Immortal Kingdom's supervisor test, Suyamli rode her immortal crane and flew away. Wu Yu knew that he was not Situ-Minglang's opponent. Thus he made use of the time available to rush toward the 9th tier, the immortal transformation realm. After cultivating it, one would obtain a godlike body akin to an immortal ape. Compared to a mortal, its strength, speed, defensive prowess, and regenerative abilities were superior by far, with the caveat that it consumed strength. However, it was not simple. Wu Yu had pondered over it for quite a bit of time but did not get to some point. He had a feeling that he was lacking something important. Frankly speaking, Wu Yu knew that he was not Situ-Minglang's opponent. Thus, he had to make use of the time available to rush towards the 9th tier, immortal transformation realm. On the next day, Wu Yu rode his immortal crane and flew into clouds, crossing over half the Bipal mountain range before finally arriving at Myriad Treasures Valley. Looking from above, Myriad Treasures Valley was full of bright lights and was bustling with life. Numerous treasures were being exchanged in this place every day. This was the place that the disciples most wished to visit. A few smaller stores had servants running them, while more important ones had core disciples in charge of them. The valley was too large. After exploring it for half a day, he had only covered just 1/10 of it. Yet Wu Yu did not find any treasures that could help him in ascending to the 9th tier. Just as he decided to leave, he was still pondering over the immortal ape transformation. All of a sudden, an item placed on the floor on his left attracted his attention. As an external disciple was running that store. The fruit was emanating a faint fragrance, and seemed to be a spiritual fruit. However, it did not seem to be of a particularly high grade. Yet what was striking was that this fruit looked very much like a monkey's head. It possessed a shape that looked like the fruit had eyes and a nose. Mysteriously, Wu Yu felt that he really needed this seemingly ordinary fruit. He felt that the fruit possessed a trace of something connected to apes and ordinary individuals could not perceive it. Since this could grow the likeliness of a monkey, it would definitely possess some mystery to it. Wu Yu sat down and pointed at the fruit, asking the seller, "What is this?" The seller replied saying, "It is a monkey head fruit. It's mostly used to temper the body. It can be used to increase the speed of regeneration of one's injuries and can even replenish flesh and blood. However, it had a much greater effect on monkeys and apes. In terms of price, it is not high, just 15 kilograms of gold is enough." Wu Yu wanted to bring it back to take a closer look at the mysteries it holds. Just as Wu Yu was fishing for money and confirming the price with the seller once more, the disciple selling at the counter raised his head to look at Wu Yu and increased the price to 500 kilograms of gold. Wu Yu trembled, and the gold he counted out had almost fallen onto the floor. Compared to the previously quoted 15 kilograms of gold, the difference was just too large. He had not brought that much gold out, to begin with. "I did not hear it wrongly, did I? Is this not a monkey head fruit? It is worth at most 15 kilograms of gold. What do you mean by 500 kilograms? Wu Yu said in a displeased fashion. The disciple replied, "As I said, if it is you, it is 500 kilograms of gold for a fruit." The disciple was adamant. The way he looked at Wu Yu had a hint of enmity in it. Wu Yu immediately snapped. He felt that the other party was toying with him. Just as he was about to reason with him, after hearing the disciples gathered in the market, he realized that the seller is somehow affiliated with Situ-Minglang. They are from the same peak. He immediately asked the seller about his connection with Situ-Minglang. The disciple shuddered and said, "How did you know?" Wu Yu's gaze was blazing as he replied, "Of course, I would know, as only the disciples related to Minglang would not sell their things to him. The purported price was just to mess with him. Frankly speaking, Wu Yu really wanted this monkey head fruit. However, the opposing party coincidentally had a dispute with him. This was troublesome. The opponent was not daft, and was unreasonable. He could tell Wu Yu needed that monkey head fruit. Therefore, Wu Yu thought to himself, when this disciple leaves the market at night, I will forcefully snatch it from him. Wu Yu threw the monkey head fruit back on the stall and decided to go and keep a watch on the seller from a distance. But just as he was about to leave, Situ-Minglang actually appeared in the market on that stall. He wanted to create trouble for Wu Yu, so he decided to purchase that fruit. The seller instantly picked up the monkey head fruit and offered it to Situ Minglang for free. After Situ Minglang took the monkey head fruit, he smirked coldly, turning his pink light eyes on Wu Yu, saying, "I hear you want this monkey head fruit." Situ Minglang raised the immortal fruit in his hand, looking at Wu Yu with a half-smile. Wu Yu turned towards Situ Minglang with blazing eyes and angrily agreed to his words. "Then I give it to you." This was a completely unexpected phrase coming from Situ Minglang. Wu Yu had not even comprehended it when the opponent suddenly flexed. He crushed the monkey head fruit into a pulp in front of everyone. He then flung it to the floor, saying to Wu Yu, "Take it, don't stand on ceremony." Situ Minglang took 2 steps backward, a thick smirk on his face. He gestured towards Wu Yu. He then crushed the pieces of monkey head fruit with his feet into the mud, where they mixed until they looked like the droppings of a beast. Wu Yu was startled at the behavior of Situ Minglang. This action had hushed the entire crowd. Situ Minglang was too cruel. He had not only destroyed what Wu Yu wanted but also taunted him. At this moment, if Wu Yu did not attack or at least do something, then his aura would be completely suppressed. Everyone was very curious. What would Wu Yu do? Normally, unless he could defeat Situ Minglang, he would be completely played with, but at the moment he was not an opponent of Situ Minglang. He could only bear this disgrace. Unexpected to everyone, Wu Yu gently extracted his fingers and unhurriedly walked up to Situ Minglang. From here, he could feel the immortal Tao's spiritual power emanating from his opponent. Wu Yu squatted down naturally, picking up the muddy mess from the ground. The disciples gathered in the market were shocked at his reaction and thought that Wu Yu is spineless. After wrapping it well within a piece of cloth, he stowed it away in his chest pocket. Throughout all this, he showed no expression, not even fear. Only after he had finished did he turn a mild smile on him, saying, "My thanks to junior brother Situ for his generosity. But this thing will be the greatest factor when you lose the battle. You will regret it. At that time, don't sniffle and cry." Having said that, Wu Yu smiled and flexed his own sunny aura, which clashed with Minglang's in a contest of opposites. After which, he could not be bothered to remain here. Even in front of Situ Minglang, he left without turning away. In truth, everyone had been on tenterhooks through this turn of events. They only began to ease up when Wu Yu had left, and the aggression began to fade from Situ Minglang. They started mumbling. Situ Minglang was clearly humiliating him, but he actually bowed his head to accept it. That is too spineless. But he has the courage to come close to his enemy. Although Wu Yu himself was very calm, others who had witnessed this felt he had willingly submitted to humiliation. Perhaps only Situ Minglang himself, the one who had done the humiliating, felt no sense of pleasure. On the contrary, the darkness in his heart grew further. He was conflicted inside. He felt like he should not be entangled with this wretched servant Wu Yu. As long as Wu Yu was dead, he could carry on pursuing his path. Some time later, Wu Yu returned to his disciple's residence. He rushed back into practice room and completely sealed the practice room. Just then a disciple came knocking on the door. As he entered the room, he provided Wu Yu with the immortal sect uniform that Su Yanli had sent for him. Wu Yu was so engrossed in practice that he did not realize the disciple. Wu Yu picked up the pulp and placed it inside a furnace, which turned a pale gold color. He then extended his hands. Many meridians were on his arm, and under Wu Yu's control, his palm glowed red and golden flames sprung forth, roasting the monkey head fruit. In the dancing golden flames, the pulp was rapidly burned clean, becoming a mist that floats within the practice room, bringing wafts of fragrance. However, Wu Yu was completely absorbed in the fruit. There was a minute drop of blood that one would not notice unless one looked closely. The mystical drop of blood was like a live creature. Occasionally, it even transformed into the shape of a ferocious monkey. This should be the blood of an ape that became a demon. It must be very strong. Wu Yu was very excited. The odds of this happening were too improbable. He thought to himself, "I will use this drop of blood to cultivate the immortal ape transformation. If Situ Minglang found out that he has personally helped me in ascension, I wonder what his expression would be." After a long period of suppressing his wants, Wu Yu sunk into another deadly stage. Some days later, on the day of battle, the disciples of Baipo mountain range, were waiting for the spectacle on the Immortals' battle stage. It was said that Wu Yu and Situ Minglang had been arranged as the last battle. It was a cloudy day, with rolling clouds blowing in across the barren to the west. It was already afternoon. Today, the mountain that hosted the Immortals' battle stage was majestic and imposing as could be. The Immortals' battle stage was a huge coliseum. There were human heads everywhere, faces full of anticipation, waiting for the battles between the 12 core disciples. The chatter and discussion evaporated as the sect protector Manhwa arrived. She emerged from the sky and finally landed above the crowd's heads, on the throne of gold and silver constructed from 10,000 swords. This was the esteemed throne of swords, which was the designated seat for the sect protector. Beside Lan Hui were many elders. One of them was Elder Mu Ge. Today, the other elders, Lan Hui included, sat back, while Mu Ge was the host of the Immortal Kingdom Supervisor Test. The Immortal Kingdom Supervisor Test was normally not as elaborate an event. But today Lan Hui had personally made an appearance, all because Situ Minglang was participating. All disciples were shocked at the appearance of sect protector Lan Hui. Within the crowd, a black-robed Situ Minglang was laughing and chatting with disciples. Situ Minglang's eyes had been secretly roaming, but he had not seen Wu Yu. He thought to himself, if it is as people say, he does intend to participate, he was merely playing for time, afraid that I would slaughter him. Situ Minglang laughed coldly to himself. Situ Minglang turned away as the crowd started to gather. At this moment, Elder Mu Ge stood up from his seat, asking the time for the battle exchange is about to start. Are all 12 candidates present? The crowd looks about. Wu Yu was not here yet. Very quickly, many chorused this answer. It was an answer that came with disdain. Wu Yu's absence affirmed the disciples' suspicions that he was afraid of being slaughtered by Situ Minglang. Elder Mu Ge surveyed the crowd, finally locking on to Su Yanli. He spoke clearly, Miss Yanli, you are on good terms with Wu Yu. Go and invite him here, to stop holding up the time. He naturally knew that Wu Yu would not be absent because he feared death. I understand Su Yanli was preparing to do so as well. This was a special day for Wu Yu. It was the final test that the sect leader had set for him, and it was impossible for him to be absent. No need. At this moment, a powerful voice rang out from the sky. There was an immortal crane floating in the sky. The crowd looked up. They got surprised as they noticed Wu Yu riding the crane to the immortal battle stage. He jumped down from the crane, slamming on the stage in front of Situ Minglang. His body was fully covered with golden flames. Now that his agile rock body was cultivated. Under the setting sun, one could see just barely the golden veins and roiling blood. His golden bones were glowing and his entire body was covered in golden crystal meridians. Instantly numerous gazes turned to focus on Wu Yu. Everyone was in shock, witnessing the appearance of Wu Yu. They thought to themselves, due to the arrogance of Wu Yu, he will be slaughtered today at the hands of Situ Minglang. Mo Shu, the third disciple of Feng Shuya, and Su Yanli looked at Wu Yu with anticipation. Their faces were glowing watching their future junior brother on stage. Mo Shu suddenly turned serious and addressed Wu Yu gravely, Junior brother, don't disgrace my master. If I were you, as long as I survive on that stage, then all honor is saved. On the stage, Situ Minglang arrogantly spoke up, Wu Yu, that day you picked up trash I left on the ground, do you remember your shame? Situ Minglang had waited for this chance to vent his hatred. It was unbearable. Situ Minglang, that day, I slaughtered your 2 brothers but walked away without anything happening to me. Do you remember how glum you were? Wu Yu's words were delivered calmly. Situ Minglang was too naive. Such pre-battle taunts were nothing to Wu Yu, who had been training on the battlefield for a long time. The moment he said it, all the composure that Situ Minglang had carefully built up was shattered, and only his raging anger was left. Situ Minglang seethed and the disciples could feel his fearsome spiritual power. Situ Minglang really could not resist. This young demon stood before Wu Yu and recited a chant. In a trice, an immortal treasure appeared. It was a hardened spirit sword. A blue light flowed along the keen, gleaming edge. When it clashed, the blue light spat out thunder and lightning that lingered on the blade, creating loud cracking sounds. When Situ Minglang held the blade, Electricity coursed through his body. In an instant, his black hair flew wildly. He looked awe-inspiring. Wu Yu had heard that in the year Situ Ming Lang had secluded himself, he had not only succeeded in condensing his qi but had also cultivated the art of lightning control. Situ Ming Lang suddenly raised his head. He stared at Wu Yu and charged without a word. He started chanting a Tao technique, heart-piercer lightning, while grasping his sword in one hand. Halfway through, he finished chanting, tapping the lightning rod blade. In that instant, it seemed like he had limited spiritual power, which manifested on the long sword. The electricity on the blade was amplified by 10 times. Situ Minglang used his dominating power to charge forward with lightning-quick footwork. He lunged straight for Wu Yu's heart. In comparison, Wu Yu was taller and was looking down on him. One who had condensed their qi could control qi. Tao techniques and immortal treasures combined to be a definite walkover, and the Heavenly Sword sect disciples could basically predict that this was a sure kill. Wu Yu's counter seemed effortless. He simply lifted his sword in both hands and swept it out. He loudly calls out, "Sweeping Golden Inferno." The Golden Inferno Dragon Slayer art that he had mastered recently was used. The sound was deafening, as though an avalanche had occurred. It rumbled everyone's eardrums and knocked the sense from their brains. In that instant, all they could see was Wu Yu's sword sweeping out, trailing embers. The incomparably aggressive blow landed on the lightning rod blade and immediately exploded with inhuman power. Situ Ming Lang and lightning rod blade were sent flying more than 300 feet. Situ Ming Lang flew. In the setting sun, the demon banishing blade gleamed, and the youth was glowing with golden light from his entire body. The picture left the entire immortal battle stage silent. Even a single pin drop could be heard clearly. Even Lan Hui's gaze wavered for a moment, and the look in her eyes started to change. Or perhaps now she started to understand why Feng Shuya had taken Wu Yu under his wing. The silence extended, until Situ Minglang landed on the floor. He almost did not manage to execute a recovery roll. Such a scene was just too unexpected. It was true that the drop of blood from monkey head fruit had helped Wu Yu train day and night. He had entered the 9th tier, and now he has 5,000 war horses worth of power, far surpassing Situ Minglang in terms of power alone. Of course, Wu Yu was not arrogant. Before, Situ Minglang had not treated him as an opponent, and now that he had tasted pain, he would enter a berserk state, given his personality. As expected, Situ Minglang was chafing and he spat a mouthful of blood, then he hefted his lightning rod blade. He raised his angry eyes to the sky and executed marvelous footwork. He shouted, "The power of the sky is boundless, and the immortals rule all. Lightning and thunder, hither to my blade." Instantly, the sky darkened and the debris flew. Wu Yu raised his head in shock. He could see that the clouds had already become inky black and the thunder is roaring out. And then he saw a coarse lightning snake slithering through the clouds. It bore the ultimate killing intent. Situ Minglang spoke, "The art of lightning control will leave you without even a corpse." As the weather changed, Situ Minglang's mouth curled in a cold smile. The lightning rod blade was already pointed at Wu Yu. A voice rang out, "Die." Situ Minglang laughed loudly within the crackling electricity. His long sword gathered the lightning. In the instant that he pointed it at Wu Yu, the sky rang with an explosion. As he lifted his head, an electric snake could be seen lunging out from the clouds. The brilliant light was frightening, and it was at a speed that could be dodged. It reached Wu Yu's head. True elite Tao techniques were being displayed here, and the crowd was stunned. Before Wu Yu's eyes, that explosive electric snake had already reached speeds that could not be sensed. The speed of his dodge was far from this electric snake's speed. In that split second, all he could do was block his head with the demon banishing blade. The lightning clashed with demon banishing blade. Just as everyone expected, the lightning was conducted through the blade to Wu Yu's body. There was an explosion, and the lightning engulfed Wu Yu, wrecking his pristine body. Instantly he was charred black and fell to the ground stiffly, knocking up a puff of dust. The crowd laughed, as expected, burned to a crisp, haha. When they saw the fallen Wu Yu, the body still smoldering with green smoke, many sect disciples actually burst into laughter. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Tao techniques are indeed powerful, but to fully utilize them requires time. that is enough time for me to send you to the next world. Gripping the demon banishing blade in hand, Wu Yu's power and energy returned anew. Not dead, Sita Minglang had thought him dead and was about to deal a supplementary move. Who would have known that he would be delivering a killing blow? In that instant, he lifted his sword. The demon banishing blade seemed to have a golden dragon circling it. A voice rang out, heaven-defying dragon slayer. Sword and dragon combined perfectly in Wu Yu's hand. With a flash of golden light, that sharp and powerful killing stroke, packed with heaven-defying will, reached Situ Minglang before anyone even realized it. Wu Yu's overwhelming, know-what back had sprung a tinge of doubt in his heart. Calling the lightning needed time. He hurriedly changed his skill to protect himself. Lightning gathered shield. This Dao technique was very fast. Just one chant could call forth a wall of electricity, building a protective shield before him. Wu Yu charged forward with the full power he can muster, swinging demon banishing blade with his one hand. Impossible penetrative power, heaven-defying dragon slayer. It was an equal will. Compounded with Wu Yu's horrifying physical power, those blows shattered the lightning shield at an unbelievable speed. The demon banishing blade cut through, throwing Situ Minglang off. The hand holding lightning rod blade flew askew. Along with it was the lightning rod blade itself. Wu Yu still capitalized by throwing in an additional kick that caught Situ Minglang squarely on the chest. With a crack, his ribs snapped. Situ Minglang flew backward, falling into the crowd. The crowd was naturally stunned and hurriedly made way, causing Situ Minglang to fall to the floor. His fresh blood mixed with mud and he looked like a pathetic picture. Wu Yu thought to himself, that guy really disdains me. He actually dared to block with the lightning shield while holding on to his lightning attack till the last. Wu Yu could not resist letting out a cold laugh. Situ Minglang had a broken arm and had taken a kick. He did not have much fight left in him. And now he could only pick himself up from the ground painfully, his face pale. This scene was hard to take in, and many spectators were shocked. While, within the hushed silence, only Qing Meng, the little girl, rapped and cried, Wu Yu had won, and Situ Minglang is vanquished. A voice rang in Minglang's ears, Minglang, he has already become a demon in your heart. If you don't kill him, you will never transcend this stage. This is why, go and destroy him without. The master will handle all other matters for you. No one else could hear Lan Hui's words. She was using an advanced skill to project her voice only to Situ Minglang. Within the dead silence, Muge finally understood the real reason why Feng Shuya had nurtured Wu Yu. He cleared his throat in purpose, announcing, Last battle, the result is clear, the victor is. Suddenly a voice rang out, Wait. Situ Minglang had actually interrupted Muge. The crowd looked again at Situ Minglang. He spoke, I have not lost yet. Situ Minglang tried to stem the huge flow of blood from the right hand, the other hand holding the lightning rod blade aloft. As he said this, his face twisted and his voice quavered with a wail. He had evidently entered some sort of berserk state. Wu Yu could sense his killing intent. After hearing her master's words, all doubts in Situ Minglang's heart vanished into smoke. At that moment, he did something which nobody expected. He raised his sword, facing his heart. With a loud pop, he pierced his own heart with lightning rod blade. In that instant, electricity exploded, and Situ Minglang was quickly engulfed in lightning. His body had taken a humanoid electric form. One could barely make out hands, legs, and a brain. It was the forbidden Dao technique, lightning demon metamorphosis. This technique changed Situ Minglang enormously. His body seemed to have fused with countless electric currents, which made his entire body into attack. That awesome electric power caused everyone to retreat several steps. In everybody's eyes, you could see lightning snakes everywhere. And Situ Minglang now was naturally very terrifying. Su Yanli and Mo Shirshu exchanged a look, seeing the anger in each other's eyes. Both took to the air and flew towards Lan Hui. Mo Shirshu said, Situ Minglang, you actually dare to use a forbidden Dao technique on the Immortals' battle stage? You have broken the rules. According to sect rules, you are disqualified. Back down immediately. Wu Yu had also seen the sect rules, and among the recorded Dao techniques, some were too cruel and too powerful in terms of the casualty effect. They were taboo to disciples, and the only time they could be used was against demons, and only as a last resort. Wu Yu knew that both of them would come to protect him, but he felt that it was useless. As expected, Lan Hui waved a hand, and both were sucked back like a vortex, forcibly held to their original spot. Lan Hui stared at them from up high but did not speak a single word. For some reason, she, Lan Hui, was being unreasonable, but she would insist nonetheless. Suyamli spoke up in a loud voice. Why did Master Feng Shuya choose today of all days to be absent? At this time, Situ Minglang had already grasped the chance Lan Hui had given him. Under the protests of the crowd, his ability had elevated by another level and he had changed into a lightning demon, killing and slaying madly. All the nearby rubble exploded and the soil blackened. Situ Minglang simply struck his sword, and an explosive lightning charge sizzled a long black gash on the earth. Wu Yu narrowly avoided it and escaped unharmed. A few times lightning exploded beside him, and these were blows to him. But in the end, Wu Yu could not find any window for attack, while he himself was about to be destroyed by Situ Minglang. Seeing Wu Yu being completely suppressed, Qing Mang's face was ashen. She knew that forbidden Dao techniques were prohibited in these battles and she was so furious. As Wu Yu escaped, Situ Minglang turned into a bolt of lightning and gave chase. Even while he was completely encased in lightning, one could still make out his cold and sinister smile. Wu Yu was stuck in the lightning. A voice rang out, "Die," and an even more destructive attack was unleashed. To Situ Minglang, this was the conclusion of Wu Yu's life. However, he had not noticed Wu Yu's expression, which had been calm. Ever since he had reached the immortal transformation tier, he had a huge ace up his sleeve. Before the lightning could reach him, a golden light covered the sky, shaped like an ape. Wu Yu's transformation began from the eyes. It was immortal ape transformation. His eyes were originally black, suddenly they shot out a blinding, golden light and changed to completely golden eyes. And then, beginning from his eyes, a golden wave rippled out, wrapping his body. Firstly, with loud cracks, his skeletal structure expanded. In a trice, his chest, legs, waist, and other parts were at least twice as thick. Even his face began to change into that of an ape. What was more obvious was the emergence of golden hair that covered his entire body. Suddenly a golden light shot up into the sky, that reaches far too high. Everyone watched this startling transformation. And then Wu Yu's whole body was hidden inside a ball of golden light, that was transforming him into an immortal ape. When light disappeared, Wu Yu was like a real monkey. An upright, ramrod straight ape. The body's golden fur shimmered with light under the sun. Although it was very impressive and intimidating, it did not lack beauty. This was an ape even more handsome than a human. Burly, intimidating, dominating, and bursting with resplendent and beautiful power. Just one look set one's heart beating wildly. A voice rang out, "What is that?" It was not only Situ Minglang that was rooted in fright. All who were watching were astonished. If it were not for the fact that Wu Yu had no demonic aura, they would have imagined that this was Wu Yu's true form. Even the worried Mu Shirshu was stunned at this moment. Lan Hui's face also changed very quickly. It was apparent that even was caught off guard by Wu Yu's move. This was definitely not a Dao technique and definitely not a forbidden Dao technique. It was a bloodline transformation. Wu Yu could feel his power skyrocketing from 500 warhorses reaching up to 7,000 warhorses worth of power. The demon banishing blade that Wu Yu wielded struck directly, still imbued with the golden Inferno Dragon's Slayer art. While Situ Minglang's lightning strike came cleaving with explosive power, a voice came from Minglang, "Wu Yu, you are really a beast, haha." Situ Minglang's lightning demon metamorphosis was in no better mental condition than Wu Yu. It was even more maniacal than Wu Yu. "Roar," Wu Yu replied with a grunt. The tremendous energy from his chest was articulated in the sound of a large beast. He was worked up and in a frenzy. Both of their weapons clashed. A large of energy was released from the clash that surrounded both of them. The crowd witnessed Wu Yu's demon banishing blade cleave an immortal treasure in two. From the lightning rod blade, thousands of electric currents jumped onto Wu Yu's body. But only a few were able to penetrate it. Situminglang's attack only caused light wounds to Wu Yu. But Situminglang's immortal treasure was snapped under Wu Yu's mad onslaught. He was thrown back a few meters under a heavy slash from Wu Yu. He could not believe that even after using a forbidden Dao technique, he was no match for Wu Yu. Wu Yu charged forward, swinging his blade. Situminglang was cleft into two from head to toe by Wu Yu's sword. The lightning demon split into two, flying to either side of Wu Yu. Situminglang's anguished cries only persisted for a few more moments, then the two halves of his corpse vaporized into ash within the lightning, even before they could land on the floor. After killing him, Wu Yu had become even more savage, but now the situation was not serious. He controlled himself, willing his heart to calm. All were silent. A voice rang out, "Damn, have I gone blind?" The fan in Mo Shirshu's hand had fallen to the floor, and his eyes were about to pop out. There were many who were as doubtful as he was. A voice came, "Wretch, you dare to kill my disciple?" The shrill cry of the sect protector raised goosebumps. It was said that Lan Huai was a gened and immortal. Those like Su Yanli or Mu Shirshu were like ants before them. Wu Yu finally shed himself of immortal ape transformation and reverted back to human form. Looking around, all were filled with respect, fear, and adoration. It testified that from this moment on, Wu Yu would progress at fearsome speed. Of course, Wu Yu still had to survive Lan Huai. In the entire Heavenly Sword sect, only Feng Shuya can hold her in check. In an instant, Lan Huai stood up from her throne of 10,000 swords. "Wu Yu, you broke the sect's rules and killed my personal disciples on the Immortals battle stage. I sentence you to death." Lan Huai's stern and a cold voice echoed throughout the place. It was decisive and compelling. Wu Yu felt like he was at the gates of hell. The terrible pressure on his body told him that a few more steps forward and he would reach the underworld. "I will die here." Wu Yu was very discontented. He had finally defeated Situminglang after much difficulty, and earned the chance to return to Capital Wu for revenge. How could he die here? Lan Huai used a technique that formed several swords in the sky. It looks as majestic as it can be. Wu Yu was pressed down on the floor under the pressure of Lan Huai. She released the swords to kill Wu Yu. Within Wu Yu's body, the blood of immortal ape bubbled, affecting his will. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth, unwilling to die. Suddenly a golden light materialized in the sky, and a huge sword cut through all the attacks of Lan Huai and landed in front of Wu Yu. The pressure that had been crushing Wu Yu vanished. At this moment, Wu Yu discovered that he was still standing on the immortal battle stage, and before him was a black-haired immortal. It was sect leader Feng Shuya. He said in a loud voice that echoed all over the place, "Wu Yu, from this moment on, you are the fifth disciple of I, Feng Shuya." His hands were clasped, and he was facing off against Lan Huai. It looked calm, but only they knew how many attacks had passed. "Wu Yu, on your knees." At this time, Mo Shirshu and Su Yanli had flown over with quick steps. They reached Wu Yu's side and secretly signaled to him. Only then did Wu Yu respond. Feng Shuya had saved his life many times. To repay his grace was Wu Yu's goal. He was acknowledged as his master for life. It was a blessing for him. He quickly reacted, getting on his knees and kowtowing. Loudly, he cried, "Disciple Wu Yu greets master." After the arrival of Feng Shuya and his acceptance of Wu Yu as a disciple, Lan Huai could not bully Wu Yu at will now. Therefore, she left. "Good on you, Wu Yu. You really hid your strength. Today, you brought honor and pride to old Feng." Mo Shirshu nudged Wu Yu as he spoke. Wu Yu rose up and thanked Su Yanli and Mo Shirshu for their help. Wu Yu was really excited to complete his long-lasting wish of becoming an immortal's disciple and being able to take his revenge. Feng Shuya turned around and his pair of eyes trained on Wu Yu. "Wu Yu, you have truly made your mark." Feng Shuya looked upon him with a conflicted heart, but he did not show this. Instead, adopting a solemn face and walking forward a few paces, he said, "Wu Yu, becoming a disciple of I, Feng Shuya, not only requires you to have supernatural potential but also asks you to have an indomitable will. Most importantly, you will uphold virtue and condemn evil and banish demons with a righteous heart. According to the rules, you have not condensed your chi, and so I will not bestow on you your own mountain. However, I can give you an immortal treasure." At this time Feng Shuya gestured. Instantly from the faraway heavenly palace came ringing sounds. It was the sound of immortal treasure. In an instant, the colorful light covered the sky. It was tens of swords, long and short, with different natures and abilities. Feng Shuya spoke, "Wu Yu, upon entering the martial cultivator's world, one's first immortal treasure is of importance. Many people only use one treasure for their whole life." Wu Yu was still musing about the art of sword control. Actually, Feng Shuya was letting him choose by himself in order to test him. The usually decisive Wu Yu was hesitating at this point. Wu Yu Feng Shuya was unsatisfied that he was so long to choose. "Choose your immortal treasure," Feng Shuya prompted. Feng Shuya felt he was conflicted. He asked Wu Yu, "What is going on?" Wu Yu backed off a few steps, leaving the surrounding treasures, and then looked in confusion toward Feng Shuya. Feng Shuya was slightly exasperated now, saying, "Why are you wishy-washy? These 81 immortal treasures have basically covered all affinities. How is it possible that none of them suit you?" In the face of Feng Shuya's accusing looks, he raised his head and said with conviction, "Master, you are right. Out of these 31 immortal treasures, none of them is my first choice." Wu Yu then said that I would like to have a staff as my first treasure. When these last words were uttered, everyone felt like they had just been slapped. Su Yanli chewed her lip, evidently worried for Wu Yu. She knew Feng Shuya's temper. Wu Yu had actually asked for a staff. Luckily Feng Shuya was quite calm. Perhaps because he was in a great mood. Feng Shuya looked around and said, "I don't have that kind of immortal treasure." He felt embarrassed. At this moment, Elder Mu Gehurli leaped up and said, "Sect leader, I have a demon-subduing staff, which is hidden on my mountain. Its body is gold and made out of red hard gold. It weighs 1,500 kilograms. Mugu, you can take any sword in exchange for the staff from my collection." Elder Mugu brought out the demon-subduing staff. It was as majestic as it can be. At this moment, Wu Yu's attention was only focused on the demon-subduing staff. He was already hyped and could not care about what they were saying. He was really excited holding the demon-subduing staff. Now all that is left for him is to go back to Capital Wu and get his revenge on Immortal Hao Tian and Empress Yuanqi. That's all for today. If you like the next part of this manhwa, just comment below. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment to get epic content on this channel. See you next time.